So your bio needs to be really clear, who you serve and how you serve them, so that people immediately know she's talking to me.
And so that when you need to post stuff, it'll re-trigger you into thinking about something because. Well, hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. I have a guest today. Hey, Nell.
Hey guys.
If they are watching us on YouTube, they're going to see you. If you have not ever been introduced to Nell Storts before, Nell is my director of operations and basically the ruler of my world. Is that how we're supposed to say
it? Sure, I'll take it.
She's in control of all the things. So she's joining me on this podcast today because we're actually going to do a 2-part podcast, which I'm super excited about. And I wanted to bring her in because Nell is phenomenal with strategy, yes, but also just like numbers, because you used to be a math teacher, right? Numbers matter. Your former life before your world changed and everything was fabulous when you came to Team Allwood.
Amen.
Okay, so Nell's she's doing this podcast episode with me because she's got like a different perspective in terms of numbers. And her and I were having this discussion based on one of our mastermind clients. And I can't even remember which one it is, Nell, and I don't even know if we should mention it if we did, but one of our mastermind clients was having a lack of sales. And you and I were talking in our Voxer thread with her. Well, when you have a lack of sales, it usually comes down to one of two things. Do you have a traffic problem or do you have a conversion problem? And then you and I were in further conversations with her. And I was like, oh, this would, possibly be a good podcast. And then what happened is I was working out recently and it's the weirdest thing. First of all, I know why God didn't like make me skinny, because if he made me skinny, I would never work out a day in my life ever.
You would never get all your ideas.
I would never get all my ideas. That is accurate. So I was working out and I was doing this exercise. Okay. You know, the pull down machine.
Uh-huh.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my exercises here. Okay. So I was doing the pull down machine. No, not the pull down machine. Do you know the assisted pull up machine where you like,
yes.
And it pulls you up? Okay. So I'm at the gym recently in our neighborhood and this girl comes in and she gets on that machine, but instead of like using it to do pull-ups, she's got one of her feet on it and she's pushing it up and down now. Like it's a leg exercise now. And I'm like, holy crap.
Look at her.
Oh, I'm watching her do that. And so I did a little Instagram video because why not? I mean, if you don't put your workout on Instagram stories, did you even work out?
No,
I know. Right. And so then my friend Sandy Krakowski messages me and she's like, hey, be careful when you're doing that exercise. You really want to isolate your glutes. I'm like, isolate my glutes. And so that feels like fancy terminology. Right. So anyway, so when I've been doing it from then on, I'm like, isolate my core, isolate my glutes. And so the other day I was at the gym again, and I was thinking, okay, when you isolate the glute, like, you got to put all the focus like on that one muscle. You got to figure out which muscle it is. And then you got to really concentrate on it, because if I don't concentrate on it, I promise you, I just go through the motions. Yeah. And it's like sloppy. And so I was thinking how it's interesting that when we're exercising, we have to isolate the muscle. And I was thinking about how that applies to business, about how, like, if you're having a sales problem, like isolate the problem, figure out, is it a traffic problem or is it a conversion problem? And then I'm like, ding, 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 this would be a great podcast. And why does my mind work in parables? But then I'm like, well, the Bible's all parables and analogies. And so it's fine, right?
It all works together. The number of messages Jen sends us from right after a shower or right after the gym, that's like, podcast idea.
I know. Why is that? Or if I'm driving, but I always get them at times I probably shouldn't. So, all right. So let's talk about, and I want to talk just to the women in particular who wish that their sales were higher. Like maybe you're not having a sales problem, but maybe you just had a launch of your coaching program. Or no, what other examples could we give them that maybe didn't work out quite like they wanted it to?
Yeah, I just think anytime your income is not quite where you want it, or even if it's a social media opt-in, or an opt-in email opt-in, you're putting out on social media and you're not getting the results you want, we need to look at traffic or conversion. So today we're going to focus on traffic, but a lot of things can boil down. I think we get so caught up in like why doesn't people want what I'm selling? There's so many other emotions, but they really boil down to two things. Are you getting enough traffic? And is the traffic that's getting there converting to whatever you want them to convert to?
And it's because what happens a lot of times, and I just want to riff on that for a second, because you're absolutely right, is people will not have the sales they want. And so they instinctively think, well, people don't like what I'm selling, or they don't like me. And it's often not that. It's often just, you don't have the numbers that you need to. And so I thought that we would start just by defining traffic, since we're talking about traffic today. And then in 2 days, when the next podcast episode comes out, we're going to be talking about conversion. But let's talk about traffic, because I just want to make sure people understand what that means. I think the definition of traffic is like how many people are landing on your sales page. That's traffic. How many people are you pushing over there from, multiple different areas? Is there any other
Just
definition?
eyeballs on whatever you're getting. I mean,
Yes.
even you can think about traffic as a brick and mortar. If you have a brick and mortar, it's how many people come in your front door. If you have a social media, it's how many people see your post. It's just the number of people that are seeing whatever it is you are putting out there.
Yes. And by the way, traffic can come through paid traffic, it can come through ads, or it can come through organic traffic, just you pushing people there. So how does one increase their traffic? Because if you don't get enough traffic, you're not going to get enough sales. And actually, I'm going to let Nell kind of give you the numbers for conversion when it comes to traffic.
Yeah. So we'll deep diver. Well, deep diver.
Deep diver. I like it. Let's use that deep diver
next time. But essentially, cold traffic is, when we say cold traffic, we mean people that don't know you. So these are brand new people to you. That obviously converts less. That's like 1 to 5% of those people. And then warm traffic is more like 5 to 15%. So when we talk more about conversion, we'll talk about what exactly that number means. But cold traffic, just know, is less because they don't know you in as much. Warm traffic is always more. So, but you have to cultivate both, because eventually you'll wear out your warm traffic. So you always also need to be having new people filling into your funnel.
So if you were to look at your traffic to your website, and by the way, you have to have Google Analytics installed in order to do that. Am I right now?
Depending on your platform. So a lot of platforms, Google Analytics is helpful, but a lot of platforms that we use now, it's just because so many people rely on traffic, those numbers, a lot of times it's included. So if you're using like Shopify or any of those websites, it'll tell you how much traffic you're getting.
Okay, cool. And so like when Nell's talking about cold traffic and the conversion being 1 to 5%, that means every 100 people that land on your sales page to sign up for your course, or to, if you have even a product, to buy your product. So you should get 1 to 5 sales off of 100 people showing up to your website. Now that's for cold traffic that she said is like strangers to you, ads. These are the numbers, like when you're just scrolling Facebook at night and you find something sponsored in front of you and you push on, a boutique you've never gone to before and you go and buy something, like you are cold traffic to them. And then warm traffic, the number is 5 to 15%. So that means 5 to 15 people would purchase once they hit your landing page. And so those are just good numbers for you to just keep in the back of your mind. I think the majority of the time it's on the lower end of that for conversion anymore. Would you agree, Nell?
100%.
It's much closer to 5% than it is to 15%, but those are just good numbers for you guys to kind of keep in mind. So when we had this lady in the mastermind come to us and she was like, I didn't make any sales, or I didn't make enough sales. And we were like, well, how many people landed on your sales page? And the problem was the traffic. She just didn't have enough people landing on her sales page. And when we actually looked at the number of people who landed on her sales page, her sales were in alignment with that. It fit that, that conversion rate that we just gave.
Yeah. And like I said, think about it in a brick and mortar situation. If you only have 10 people come into your store, you're probably not going to make $2,000, because if your average sale is only $50 and 10 people come in, even if 100% of them bought, you still wouldn't have the sales you wanted. And so I think the same thing is true online. We want to sell 50 of something, but if only 60 people come to our website, we can't sell 50. That would be almost 100% of people purchasing.
And nobody gets that.
No one gets that.
Nobody gets that. We wish, but that'd be great.
We wish.
Wouldn't that be great? So if you know that you are not enjoying where your sales are at, and you've looked at any of your analytics and you know that you have probably a traffic problem, or what Nell and I are talking about right now is just like opening your eyes to something that you never maybe considered. Like the issue then, or the conundrum is, well, then how do I get more traffic? How do I increase the people landing on my sales page? Because it really is a numbers game, you guys. Sales is such a numbers game. And what I know to be true is those of you who are wired a lot like me. So you just want to make pretty things. You just want to sell courses to people. You just want to help people. And you got a very creative, chaotic mind. Sometimes we don't like to look at the numbers. And so Nell has done a great job of really just bringing me back to here at Team Allwood, to our numbers, because if you can figure out your numbers, then you can figure out like how much you can spend on ads. Then you can figure out like how to anticipate how many people are going to convert out of your challenge and how many people you need in the challenge in order to make the X amount of dollars that you want to make. And so it really, really is helpful. So
math is really the key to scaling and growing.
It really is.
And all of those things.
It really is. So let's talk about different ways you can increase traffic. So one of them, of course, is social media. And so one of the ways that you would be able to leverage your social media is if you have more people following you on social media, then hopefully more people will see your post, and then more people will go over to your landing page. So number one, you have to be increasing your number of followers. Or number two is that you're just increasing engagement so that the more followers that you already have see your posts. So if your engagement is in the dumps, work on that and simultaneously be working on getting new people to follow you, because when your audience grows, your traffic to your website should grow as well. Yes.
Yeah. And one of the best ways to is to look at what other people are doing. You know, social media is an algorithm, which means that it changes. And the way we see what's working is you see what's working for other people. I mean, that's just really one of the bottom line ways to do it. You have to spend time on those platforms in order to get what you want from them. And so what are people engaging with? What are other people in your industry doing? What are in the last 3 months, what have you done that got the most traction? Well, how can you repeat that? It's looking at that with like a really analytical eye, and then deciding what you're going to do for your social media.
Right. Funny sidebar here. Sometimes I'll say to my kids, okay, get off of your phones. Like we're having, family time, or we're sitting down to dinner or whatever. And they'll be like, well, you're on your phone. I'm like, yeah, but I'm on my phone for work. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, when I'm scrolling Instagram, that is like market research, but it actually can be. I mean, because when you are scrolling, friends, make sure you're also like scrolling from the eyes of a business person who's trying to like, see things, learn things, see things that you want to pattern some things after. And so, I mean, make use of your time while you're on the internet versus, just.
You can't be like mindless.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, tagging on to what Nell said, so not only like looking what other accounts are doing, and I would look at the ones that are super successful in your industry, like what's working well for them on their social media. But I would also make sure that you are engaging with content on other people's accounts and potential follower accounts. So what that means is, if you are following somebody who's in your niche and you see different people regularly commenting on their things, that's probably somebody that would enjoy to probably follow you as well. And so it may be helpful that you are just commenting on, your, let's say, competition in air quotes here on their account, because other people can find you from that, especially if you have went ahead and verified your account. I'm thinking about Instagram right now. And if you did not listen to that podcast episode I had on Instagram verification, I can try to get the episode number for you so you can listen to that when we're done. But don't be creepy, right? The hell and I always like, don't be creepy. Yeah. Don't be trying to like steal your, other people's followers. That's gross. But do try to engage on other people that are in your industry on their accounts. So
yeah. All right. Okay. So one of the next things I want to talk about is how often people post, because I feel like this is one of the biggest things that we see. So many things, we talk about sales funnels, but so many things in business really are a funnel. Yes, like the more you put in the top, the more you can come out the bottom. And that's so many of the sales. The more people that see your stuff, the more sales you're going to get. The more times you post about things, the more people are going to see it. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge problem, that so many people will post about it one time. They're like, hey, I posted once and no one bought. And it's like, you have to post way more than one time.
So they post and ghost. They post and then they never come back and post about it again. Yeah. I think the reason I think now sometimes people do that is because if they post about something that's for sale, a lot of times those posts are going to have crickets for engagement. And so then what happens is Susie's feeling bad that, not anybody really commented on her post. But my point is always this, but what you want to have happen on a sales post is you want people to leave Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever and go over to your sales page and actually buy. So the likelihood of them going over from Facebook to your sales page and purchasing and then coming back to Facebook and being like, hey, Susie, thank you so much for putting this up. I just went and signed up. Like that is like slim to none. Right. So don't gauge how well, your sales are going only by whether or not people are engaging on a post. Go over and make sure you're checking, like, how many sales did you get that day? And then you can't be afraid to continue posting. The numbers that I've always heard is that it takes somebody seeing something 7 times before they're going to buy from you, whether that's a sales post or whether that's just you talking about, things that are important to you, things that are in what Nell and I refer to as content pillars. We always suggest that business people stay like with 3 to 5 topics that they talk about and don't get outside of that. the smaller your business is with followers, the smaller number of content pillars you need to have.
Right.
So
Maybe,
you'll
yeah.
see me talk about, you know, the kids going off to college and leaving mom and dad alone because apparently they like Arizona. Like you'll see me talk about stuff like that, or adoption. And so some people will think, okay, well, Jen talks about lots of a variety of things. I'll talk about a lot of variety of things. But in the beginning, when my social media was smaller, I kept it tighter. When I was building, you know, my painting business, I really talked mostly about painting until my audience kept growing and growing. And then I expanded outside of like 3 topics, you know, to 4 or 5, but keep your content more tight. So
yeah,
that helps.
And then also keep it really valuable for people. You know, so you have to do a lot of especially when we're getting traffic to a sales page, like you have to give people a reason to go to the sales page.
Yes.
You have to give them a reason to want what you're selling them. So that means educating them. That means giving them information, you know, serving them really well. Because the more you serve them, then when you ask them, it's like, think about your friends, you know, the ones that are always there for you. When they ask you for something, it's much easier to go help them because they're always there for you.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing. So as long as you're serving them, you're giving them really good content. When you do say, hey, will you go look at this, check this out, maybe you want to buy it, they're much more likely to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We do suggest that people, when it comes to content, that you create like a content catalog and that you try sometimes to batch your content. What I've noticed is happening now is there are more and more people who are noticing their own social media habits, and they're not liking what they see. And I am one of those people, by the way, that I don't like how much I'm on it. And so I'm trying to put better boundaries in place. And I do think that during the summer, we do see people like step back from social media a little bit. But what I'm also seeing is some burnout. And this would probably be a really great, another podcast all on itself, burnout from business people about being on the content machine. And you just sometimes start feeling like I can't get off and I get tired of posting. And so then you decide to take a break, and then it's really hard to come back. And so what is sometimes helpful is to have like a content catalog where you're basically keeping ideas. It's basically a place where you're, you know, putting your thoughts and your stories. And so that when you need to post stuff, it'll re-trigger you into thinking about something. Because what happens to me anyway is I'll think to myself, okay, I need to post something today. And I'll sit down at Facebook and I'll be like, I got nothing, drawing a blank. But if I look at like my content catalog, which I, by the way, just keep a ton of content catalog ideas on my phone, I'll be like, oh yeah, that was a good idea. Let me use that. And I've noticed too, if you are an entrepreneur who is really struggling to continue to post because you're burnt out, batch out your content creation. So that means like on a Sunday, you can literally like schedule everything for the whole rest of the week. I don't like to batch out more than about a week at a time. But that makes it easier for people. That way they don't have to do it on the fly every day. So
yeah, I agree. Okay, a couple other things to talk about is make sure your bio is really clear. Who you serve and how you serve them. This is something we talk about a lot, but people want to know if what you're selling is for them. And so if you want them to come to your website, if you want that traffic, if you want that increased eyes on your stuff, you need to make sure that you're calling out the right person by being really clear on who that right person is. So your bio needs to be really clear, who you serve and how you serve them, so that people immediately know she's talking to me. And then they're going to be much more likely to give you that traffic you're looking for.
Yeah. Your bio needs to be more about your potential follower than it needs to be about you. So many people think they need to put things in there like Jesus lover, mama for the
coffee drinker.
That's nobody cares. That is like valuable real estate. And I say nobody cares with like all the love in my heart, but people literally, they do not care about that. When they are looking at your bio to try to decide if to follow you or not, all they're thinking of is, what can this person do for me? Does this person understand, you know, XYZ part of my life? Will I feel like I will be either entertained or learn something from this person? Otherwise, they could care less about your coffee habits, your children, all the things. So make your bio very, very clear. Also in your bio, make sure you do have a link in your bio. We usually like you to send it to people to a freebie, or if you have something open that needs to be, you know, you switch your bio link to that. But don't give too many options in a link tree. Now, the other day, I was looking at somebody's link tree who had their card open. It was not anybody in our mastermind, but it was a friend of mine. And she had like 12 things on her link tree. I don't even know if it was Linktree or another software, but there was like 12 things there. And I'm like, seriously, when you have a cart open and you're trying to sell your monthly group or your course or your one-on-one consulting or whatever, it needs to be just one link to your sales page, like nothing else. And the rest of the time, man, shorten that down to, I want no more than 5 things on that link tree, because otherwise people, they may see your social media posts that, you've got your course for sale. And so they go look at your bio on Instagram and they click on it and you've got the link for the course, but then you also have your Amazon, like to know it. And you also have, travel ideas. And you also have like a link
Blog
to a free
posts
Bible study that you did 10 years ago. And so then people are like, squirrel, and they get completely distracted and you lose a sale because they got distracted and looked at something else on your link tree. So stop with that.
Definitely prioritize your links based on income and what you want to be the most important one. One other little ninja tip on links: make sure links are always direct to where you want people to go. A lot of times I see people link just to their website. And when someone lands on the homepage of your website, there are so many options for them. This is especially true if you have any kind of like physical product. If you're trying to sell a specific physical product, link to that actual product. But when you just link to your website, people land there and they're like, oh, she has a podcast, and let me go find her on YouTube channel, and then let me see what else she's got. And so you get distracted from what it is you're trying to sell. So if you have an email opt-in or you have a coaching offer, link directly to that so that people don't have any other options.
As we're kind of winding down on this traffic part here, I wanted to just tell people that I did a podcast. It's episode 386, if you can remember that, on the pressure to post. If you are one of those business owners who is struggling right now to like get back into the posting game, you need to be consistent on social media, you're just really struggling, go listen to that next, that episode 386, because I think that that's helpful. So now we are having a free social success coaching series coming up. You want to give them the link to that?
This is just a series we've done that is all about things that you can do on your social. So to make sure that you're having the most success there. So jenniferallwood.com/social success.
It is the hardest thing. Every time I ever try to send people to this, I struggle. That's why I asked you to do it. It's social success. That is, but it's like Sally sells seashells.
It's a hard one. But if you struggle with your social media, this is the place to help you. And social media and your email list really are the 2 most driving places you're going to get traffic. And so those are the places that you need to spend a lot of time if you're having a traffic problem for your sales.
Yep. So that's totally free. Go grab it. It will help you out on your social media. I hope you guys are going to come back and listen to part 2. Nell, you're going to come back with me for the conversion talk. And what's super funny is we're talking about traffic and conversion. There's actually like a conference every year called Traffic and Conversion. And I just literally made that today. I'm like, oh yeah, there is like an actual conference with that name. Hilarious. So come back for part 2 of this. It's going to be helpful. If you're getting a lot of traffic to your website, then you're not getting sales, your problem is probably conversion. And so we want to talk to you about that on the next episode. We'll see you then. Thanks.
Bye.